States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's do roll call. Myers? Here. Boehm? Here. Imhoff? Here. Burnwell? Our cupboard is here. Agenda, I have one item to add under new business, and that is the banner from the World Ice Fishing Competition. We have Lane Lepping and Tim Rasmussen here to talk about that. So if you want to put that in new business, we'll put it before cemetery deed, and why don't we just flip-flop new business and old business? Put them ahead of that tonight. Anybody else have anything for the agenda? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with that change. Is there support? Support. Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Minutes from the February 10th regular meeting. Everybody should have gotten a copy of those. Any questions, comments, changes to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there support? Motion's been made and supported to approve the minutes as presented. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment on agenda items only. Anybody have anything on the agenda? Go ahead and close public comment on agenda items and move into our treasurer's report.
Okay, in the general account, the beginning balance was $300,783, and income for the month was $39,863.58. Expenses was $13,914 for an ending balance of $326,732. The fire account, beginning balance of $64,182, an income of $40,749, no expenses, for a total of $104,932. Honeymoon Heights lights, beginning balance was $8,749 with an income of $2,306 for an ending balance of $11,056. The tax account, beginning balance was $134,411 with an income of $591,916. Expenses of $719,165 for an ending balance of $7,162. The CDs are still the same balance as last month because the interest won't come until the end of March. So CD 301, the beginning and ending balance is $58,531. CD 302, the beginning and ending balance is $58,536. And CD 303, the ending balance is $50,421.
Thank you, Jamie. Anybody have any questions for Jamie on the treasurer's report? Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Is there support? Support. Motion's been made and supported to approve the treasurer's report. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And moving into the clerk's report, Ginger's provided the monthly bill detail as of today. Everybody should have had that in their packets. Any questions, comments on this month's bills list? Total of $14,355.10. I will make one item of note. We did have to void a check for BC3. think both Jamie and I had sent Ginger the invoice, cause we both got it. And so we voided that one. And then, Ginger is actually owed $50, for the ZBA hearing, which is on her payroll check, so we'll get that caught up, in April bills. Otherwise, they're kind of the highlights. Is there a motion to approve the bills listing?
Motion to approve bills listing.
Is there support?
Support it.
Motion's been made and supported to approve the bills listing. Further discussion? Do roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yep.
Burnwell?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries.
6:05.
Elections update, it's starting to heat up. We have the May sixth special election, which will have the school operating millage on it, and
After tonight, it's full blast.
full blast, so. Anything more on the grant for a possible backup, laptop computer?
Yep, I mean, it's
Submitted.
it's there, it hasn't been, they aren't accepting submissions yet.
Okay,
It just had to be purchased by the 28th of February.
okay, and then you apply for reimbursement.
Yeah.
I'll mention it in the clerk's report, but our, I'll say dilemma with, between VC3, who is our, IT provider of our remote, server, and BSNA, and do we do an in-house server? Jamie and Dutch and the assessor, Andy, we met and, just kind of talked about what he does in other townships that he's the assessor for, and kind of talking to, I actually had a call with BSNA to hear about what their plans are. Are they gonna force everybody to go to the cloud, or, are they gonna continue to support the programs that we're currently, using, which would be, those would be transferred to a server? And I mean, they wouldn't like say, oh yeah, it's gonna be here another 10 years, so it's questionable how long they're gonna support that program, which makes me take a step back of, well, then do we really need a server if, we're gonna be forced to go to the cloud anyway? So I think the next step is to schedule a demo with, BSNA Cloud, with Jamie, Dutch, and the assessor, and just, get a look at it first, but if this is the way of the future, we may need to look a little closer at their cloud service. So we'll, get that scheduled here in the next few weeks. But the migration with DC3, who supplies the remote server now, is complete. They're already having issues, I know Jamie's had issues with it, and, the assessor Andy has also had issues, so not really getting calls back from their tech support, but, I mean, the issues are there, you know, so, hopefully the next, few weeks we can get that ironed out. Anything else you wanted to share? Fire will be in a little bit.
Fire and the cemetery and rentals, but those are all
Those are all
individual.
separate, yep. So we'll go right to Dave Kelsey for, zoning administration update.
For February, Eli Schrock, he, had a permit to tear down a sawmill, build a new one. The ZBA approved it because of the setback, you know, isn't 200 feet. Not a whole lot happened, that month. 11589 Juniper, there's still a violation. I wrote another ticket, 1225, 11225, and his fines are up to $785. And 6685 Hemlock RV storage, and the last ticket was written out on 2/12/25, and then fines are up to $260. On Terry Drive, there's no address, just a tax ID number, and I sent the notice to them. They're, I don't know if they're living in the camper. Every time I went by there, there are pickups there, but they have plywood along the bottom, and it looks like, yeah, it's been way over, 14 days, you know, so.
So that,
it's-
that was one that somebody had complained to me and I forwarded on to you.
Okay,
And it's not on your list, cause it's literally just the last couple days, so.
Yeah.
So you've sent them a notice.
yeah, I did send them notice, gave them, 14 days.
Okay.
And, they don't respond, I'll issue a ticket.
Okay. Any questions for Dave? And we'll move over to Marcy with the update on land division activity.
I got a notification from two property owners who live side by side, and they wanna do a property line adjustment. So one wants to sell some property to the other, and I did forward, the application and, the letter, and, I guess they went right to Andy as of today, so Andy has sent them back to me. They didn't realize they have to go through me for the approval first.
Oh, okay.
So I don't, looking at what they have, I don't see a problem with it, but they just need to follow protocol. So I'm working with that right now, but that was the only one, other than the one last one that we talked about, and that hasn't progressed any, that I know of.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Planning commission report, David?
We haven't had a meeting, but our meeting is this Wednesday in 2 days at 6 o'clock. We're gonna be working on the lakefront residential boundaries, a rough draft. And then Joe asked me to ask the board, the next thing kinda on the list when that ever gets done, short-term rentals and tiny homes. Is there anything you want, the board want done before we get into those? We still know we gotta do the height whenever we get
The poll.
the pole barn
The
height.
pole barn.
Yes, we know
Yeah.
we have, when we have another public hearing.
Okay. I don't have anything specific, so it was short-term rentals and tiny homes. Yeah, I mentioned that accessory,
Well, so he keeps saying might be too long of a process for him to wait. Especially, he talked about splitting that 27 acres into multiple lots. So I'm not sure what he's doing. He's still in Florida, the gentleman who we
Yeah.
so
talked
he
about
won't be
last
there
time.
Wednesday.
So he won't be
Okay.
here.
Okay.
No, he won't. He definitely would like to see tiny homes, but I don't think he has the patience to wait for the process,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Okay.
So now he's talking to me about possibly looking at it it must be commercial
Yeah.
property
Yeah,
at this
it is.
point,
Okay.
it was rezoned. So he wants to put a price tag possibly on a sale to see if he could sell it commercially as a 27 acre vacant piece in the commercial district, so. That's kind of where we're at, he calls me probably every 3 days, 2 days. I don't know.
Alright,
I did receive some rough drafts of maps that one of our main things is to get the whole zoning, map updated as far as, so we can see where the boundaries are for the other districts. And, he sent some rough drafts, and around the village, I noticed there was some parcels that had been annexed previously. So I'm working with the village manager. He pointed out a few earlier today, and I'm waiting for a map of the other side of, the village so that we can tweak that, and then he'll send me the updated map, and then I'm gonna send that to Joe, and he'll get it out to you guys in your meeting packets for Wednesday.
Yeah, Paul Main had mentioned to this gentleman that his property now is commercial. He did not realize that, just to let you know in case he calls, cause he's making phone calls to a lot of people, it sounds like, so.
alright,
Alright. Zoning Board of Appeals, so they had the hearing that was mentioned, that was last month. No other hearings scheduled on that, we are still looking for an alternate member. So if you know of anybody, let me know. Fire district update.
It was a busy month, they were called out 19 times, and usually, like like I said before, it's like vehicle fires and a lot of that type of stuff, but this time they actually had calls for 6 structure fires, which is highly unusual. Just one of those things, but one of the things that did come up is, I don't know if some of you read about the one down by in Montcalm Township, that was a mutual aid one. And they were held up, they had to stage away from the fire because there was an active shooter at the fire. And I think that was all over the papers and everything now, but, then when so they couldn't even put the fire out right away because of the danger, and they mentioned that out of the 6 structure fires, 5 of them involved the police department in one way or another. So it was just a very, very busy, unusual. They had 32 fires. Firefighters showed up for training for CPR and AED training. They mentioned they need to insulate the DPW side of the fire barn down there, but the roof is bad, so they don't wanna put the insulation in until the roof gets done, so working on that. They bought 5 new chainsaws, and March 29th is the VFW banquet for the firefighter of the year, policeman of the year, and the honors banquet.
Any questions for Virginia? We'll move on to, and we do have one item, fire district, a potential amendment, we'll talk about in old business. Supervisor report, so assessing, department, the March Board of Review is in progress right now. We had first appeals hearing was, today from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The second appeals hearing is tomorrow, March 11th from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Roads, so we did get, the quotes from Montcalm County Road Commission, and I emailed that to everyone, so that you can have a chance to look those over. We'll have more discussion on those, more in-depth discussion, in April. Ideally, I think they like to have the quotes signed in April, but I think they will give us till May, but we'll see where we land in April on that, so just, be ready for that discussion. Nothing on the cemetery, nothing to really update on legal. Trail update, so let me read this was on the village website or Facebook. So Village of Lakeview is holding a public hearing, and would like your input regarding 2025 MDNR Trust Fund grant application for a proposed non-motorized trail around Tamarack Lake. The public hearing will be Tuesday, March 11th, tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex in Lakeview. So, if you remember from our conversations past, in order to do phase 2 to cross through some of the wetlands by Tamarack Road, you're gonna have to apply for a grant, and apparently you have to have a public hearing, I'm assuming, to do that. So, if anyone's interested, tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. Events. Upcoming events, so April 15th, Tuesday, April 15th at Coral Community Center is the Montcalm chapter of the MTA meeting, and reservations are due by Tuesday, April 8th. So if anybody on the board wants to go to that, please let me know. And then also I got an email, so the Community Advancement Committee, which was formed after the Planning Commission dissolved at the county, they created this Community Advancement Committee, and they have an endowment fund, and they're earning interest. And each year they're going to award that to those townships or other municipalities that apply for a grant. And I was talking to the village manager today. He's on that committee and was just, what types of things we apply for. And one of the things he said was a generator would be, something, or if there's something at the cemetery. So I've got the paperwork here. I look into maybe applying. They're only gonna, this is kind of a trial run that they're going with right now. They're gonna award up to 20,000 for projects, and there'll probably be a lot that are, you know, after that. So I don't know if we would necessarily get 20,000, but we could have a shot for something if we wanted to look at that.
Any other ideas?
Haven't really given it a whole lot of thought.
Figure out what, yeah, what they were looking for.
Do some brainstorming. I can forward this on. Did you get a copy of it? No, okay.
When's that gotta be done by then?
I think the application process is the month of March, so probably March 31st. So, but this is just the test run, because they just started this program, and we just kind of threw a number out there, as far as what they're gonna award. Approval process typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. So I'll forward this on to everybody, we have it. And then the MTA Annual Educational Conference and Expo, again, that's March 31st to April 3rd in Grand Rapids. All right, so we are gonna go into new business. And we have Mr. Rasmussen and Mr. Leffing here with the banner from the very well received and awesome turnout for the World Ice Fishing Tournament. People from all over the world, literally,
Yeah.
here. So you guys got this banner, so tell us about it.
So basically, we had this banner down at the park. Lane and I kinda ended up with 2 banners, as you're aware, because we were told they weren't gonna have a banner, so the credit union said, okay, well, we'll buy the banner. So ultimately, we went ahead and purchased the banner to make sure we had a banner hanging over our street. Well, then World Ice Fishing came together and said, hey, we got a banner, we'll put it up. Perfect. Lane, said, hey, we'll put ours down at the park. Ultimately, that's where they all gathered, where they came out, which you said, very well attended, pretty amazing event to think about.
Yeah.
Us here at Tamarack Lake, Cato Township held that. And in that process, they all signed the banner. So a lot of the fishermen signed it, they were excited, maybe all of them, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I think all the fishermen have signed it.
You
So
couldn't
now-
stop them from signing it. Once the fire was lit, they,
Absolutely, and that was in the big photo and everything like that. So ultimately, we now have this 40-foot banner. What do we do with it? So our thought was, we would love to have Cato Township display it. Potentially, you have a wall that would work. And then basically, the credit union's gonna loan it to you. Someday if you say, hey, we don't want it anymore, or that we're not interested, we'll take it back, okay, at that point. Really, we don't have a place to house it right now, so we just thought, well, we'd get some viewing here. It would be kinda cool that we have it hung somewhere, so people, they wanna see it. So anyways, that was Lane's and my thought about that. I don't know what the township board thinks about that
I
idea.
think it's great. I think before our elections in here, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we'll just get some exposure and stuff.
Yeah, the only thing, yeah, you're right, it would have to be this wall, and if we put it, cause we rent this out, and I would hate for, you know, kid or somebody to write on or something, but if we put it up high, you know, we'd have to
Right.
keep it out of reach, you know, so.
And I guess if a kid writes on it, kid writes on it, right? I mean,
Well, we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that,
Yeah.
obviously, and hopefully that doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
like I said, we just think it'd be pretty amazing to have it displayed, and like you said, the elections, people come in,
Right.
I mean, I think we're all pretty proud of that event that happened here, so hopefully you all got at least a chance to view it. Like I said, I know the businesses did pretty well downtown for sure. I've heard that from a few of them, like, sold out of things, and, you know, lots of people in town those couple days for sure, if not for 2 weeks, so.
Well, what do you guys think? Does everybody, you know, and maybe, like you said, we keep it for a little while, and then when it's.
Yeah, and when you say, hey, we've had it long enough, you know, it doesn't make sense anymore, just somebody give me a call, we'll come down with our team and get it down, so.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I'm not very good with lengths, but how long is that wall?
I think it's about right.
it's,
is it right there?
I mean, if you wanna run it, I don't care, it's pretty darn,
You think, if you think it'll work,
Perfect.
then that's
Pretty
fine, you don't have to.
Yeah,
if it's not,
just fold it under, you know,
Yeah, okay, we can-
just loop that corner.
How,
and,
how
duct tape
are we
it.
gonna attach it, I guess is the other question.
It's got grommets.
It does have grommets, so yeah, I don't know, Matt, do you have ideas? Okay, good, Matt has ideas.
Matt has ideas.
He has better ideas than I would have, so I'm like, I don't know.
Doesn't involve like screwing it into the wall though, does it?
No, we'll just hang it on the,
You think,
T-
okay,
yeah.
on the ceiling
It's
tiles.
on the
Okay.
ceiling.
Okay,
okay,
yeah, like I said, any way that you can display it, that would be awesome, we would love to have it up, so, I guess so.
well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you,
well,
Noah.
well, thank you, like I said, thank you guys for allowing that event to happen. Like I said, it took a lot of people to get that thing going, so
Yeah.
like I said,
It's
that
an
was
awesome
pretty
event.
amazing.
Yeah, I think the community would be pretty impressed if they see that. There, eventually, what I'd like to do is a little collage of photos in a classy sort of way to mount with it.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
So
yeah,
people would see it and go, oh my gosh, yeah, you could actually see some of the fishermen and ladies signing the thing. And there's several photos, like the one that, Emily took.
Yeah.
That shows everyone with that banner right in front of them, so you could
so
see
that'd be cool to have
what
that.
went on and why that banner was
How
there.
many signatures are on it?
About 100.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Very
ten,
nice.
10 teams and 10 fishermen. Ish,
Ish.
a team.
10-ish per
Yeah.
team, yeah.
Yeah,
so.
some teams had a little lower,
Yeah.
Kazakhstan only had like 4 or 5, but
Alright, well, thank you.
Yeah,
All right, well, thank you all.
Well, here, you're the queen of it.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, next item of new business, Ginger has something with the cemetery he wanted to run before the board. Yes.
Okay.
I got an interesting call from a gentleman, and he wanted to inquire about whether or not we had some cemetery records from 1947. And we have the record of who bought it and what they bought, but I don't have like a copy of it, their certificate or anything, and he doesn't have a copy of it. And, so what happened in 1947, Versal Larson, some of you probably know him, lived in Coral, and he married Joyce Louise, her name is Larson, I don't remember what he told me her last name was. She was 19 years old and she passed away. And she passed away right after she had a baby, and they were like newlyweds. And so he purchased 4 lots and put her in that lot. Then he remarried shortly after that, or a year or so after that, and had the daughter, Bonnie, and some other children and everything, and had a whole different life. Well, he passed away, in 2015, and he was buried in Coral. And his wife, she just passed away in December. And she hasn't been buried yet, but that's the plans, is for her to go to Coral. And this guy that called me, his wife is the daughter of the lady that died when she was 19. And her last wish was that she could be buried next to her mom. They don't have any records at all, just from what they're telling me.
No records of where she's buried?
They knew where she's buried, and she's buried in one of those 4.
Okay.
And when I look at this, no one else is buried in the other 3. And it's been since 1947, so I'm pretty sure, he said he thought that they had 4, but he didn't really absolutely know for sure. But, talking with Brian Buchholz and Missy, they both agreed that it would be okay to go ahead and do that. And then this gentleman, his name is Don Coolin, he wants to be buried there too, because he wants to be buried next to his wife.
And that's the daughter of the mother.
Of the mother.
19-year-old mother.
Of
Got
a
it.
19-year-old mother, and there's actually a really nice headstone out there.
Okay.
And it's got Versal Larson's name on it, but no death date, but it has, you know,
So what he told you, this guy that called you?
Everything he's told
everything
me
is kind of lining up as far
perfect,
as it's
lines
not,
up perfectly, yes,
but you just don't have the certificate of the original sale.
yes.
And it was, he said he thought they bought 4, but he only needs 2 more than the one that's already.
Right, and, talked with Brian, he said they could both be buried in the same one, cause they're cremated,
Okay.
so.
So
But then, so I said to him, well, if you wanna be buried there, then we would need to issue a new certificate, because when he passes, then his children would have the same issue that he's having right now to know where to put him. So just giving him, permission to put his wife next there is good, but he wants to be buried then next to that, to his wife, so to try to clear it up now so that his children don't deal with the same thing.
So what do you need? You need the
I'm
board
just-
to approve this?
I don't know, do I need to make a motion, I'm not sure what,
Well, I mean, if you're comfortable with Brian, the sexton, and Missy is very knowledgeable in the village. I mean, the risk is that somebody else actually owns those. Well, if they've been, nobody's been buried there, there's already this stone there that kind of,
yeah. Well, we know no one's buried in the one, and it has Versal's name on, the stone is on two lots. I actually went out there to look at it,
okay.
to see what it looked, and it's the old part of the cemetery.
So are you thinking that, he just needs one more, cause you said they would both be cremated?
Yes.
Okay, so you would issue him a certificate
Certificate so that,
for one additional, and the other two would be for sale? Like,
I don't think we would probably sell them, because they show that they've been sold on
oh,
our,
on the map it shows.
on the
it's
map
been
it
sold.
shows they've been
But there's
sold,
no-
just not who to, for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
So,
So I guess if we say that we think they own them, it would be up to them what to do with those, whether they wanna.
so I'm just not real sure how to proceed with that, so a little different.
Did you contact the MTA at all, just to make sure there's nothing, you have to file some lost certificate
No,
form or
because the
something?
cemeteries are owned by the municipality.
Right, but I'm just saying
But, I mean-
MTA has people that are experts in cemetery rules and regulations.
Okay.
And it wouldn't hurt to just say, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing, is there, but I mean, if you're comfortable that, and it sounds like what he said is lining up, then, I mean, I think I'm okay with that, but it wouldn't hurt to just double check in case there's some law that says you have to file for a
I
lost
can do that
certificate
before I
or
write them out a
something.
certificate.
Yeah,
I
Cindy
certainly-
Dodge is the one who, at MTA, who is, she, teaches classes on cemeteries, and I believe is the one who wrote their
I've spoken to her
training
before.
manual. Yep. So that's, but otherwise, it kinda sounds like everybody, as long as pending nothing from her,
Mhm.
everybody would be okay for that.
So make the phone call, and if she's good,
She's
your
good.
conversation is good, then proceed.
That's kind of what I'm,
Okay,
I think I'm fine with that. Good. Okay. Alright, takes care of that. Moving to old business, fire district amendment. So this is, if you recall, it was December or January, we had amended, voted to amend the fire agreement to add a 9th member to the board. And at the time, there was discussion about how, the payment, timing, as far as when we transfer the millage that we collect for the fire district, to the fire department, and why couldn't, it was, right now, it's twice a year, and they send us a invoice wanting half of the collection, and then the other half, that's usually, I think, March 1st, or something, around March, and then the rest is in September, so we have to sit on this money and hold on to it for really no reason, and the question was, can't we just disperse that just like any other tax that's collected, like we do, Jamie disperses every 15 days or something for school and all of those. So, Ginger and I met with, the other townships, supervisors and clerks, if they were available, and, just to see what everybody's thoughts were, cause we are in this agreement with Pine, Hinton, and Maple Valley, and, it requires a majority vote to make any amendments. So, you should all have a copy, page 4, there's some red text. Everybody got that?
If you printed it in red, if you printed it in color.
Yeah, it's, what is that, Roman numeral 9 payments. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so it would be, after each winter tax collection, the township shall each pay to the fire board their respective share of taxes collected through February 28th, no later than April 1st, with any remaining funds collected paid no later than June 1st, as required for the operation of the fire department. So all of we only collect that on the winter tax bill. So what Jamie collects from December 1st through February 28th, that essentially has to be paid to them no later than April 1st to the fire district. And then when we get our delinquent tax settlement from the county, that usually happens, I think, in May. So then June 1st, then we don't, that's one less account we have to maintain. And, you know, if they wanna invest that in a CD or something, you know, that's something the fire board can vote on. The only other change was just above the payment section, so it says, each township shall in turn contribute the equivalent of 1 mil. We put, added onto that, subject to the Headley rollback. So right now, each year, you know, we don't collect exactly 1 mil. There's, I'm not even gonna try to explain what Headley is, but over the years that rolls back a little bit in comparison to what the values in the township are. So I think we're at like 0.9 something is what we collect. We just wanted to make it clear, that's the arrangement, that difference between 0.9 and 1 isn't like it's owed, you know, it's whatever is on the millage for that year, the 0.9 or whatever it is. So, if we vote, all the other townships, which everybody has their meeting same time tonight, vote to approve this, or the majority do, everybody seemed pretty on board. Jamie could, because we have to have that documented in our minutes, and then Jamie could disperse that. It's sitting in the fire checking right now. So.
I think that makes sense. So we're getting rid of that account, so like every batch I won't be putting money in there for.
Yeah, I think that account could be closed and you could, deposit it into the tax account, just like all of the other taxes you collect, and either disperse it in the batches, or you could wait and do it all at one time if you wanted to. So I guess that'd be logistics, kind of up to you, so. Any other questions on that? So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the fire district amendment as presented. Is there support for that?
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Myers?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Burnwald?
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion passes. So again, we just need to have that documented in our minutes. And then the other thing related to fire, so, it's recommended by MTA and our insurance, and, it's just good business practice to have those agreements, looked at by township attorney every so often. And Ginger pulled a lot of, old correspondence from back in like the early 2000s, and there was, I think an attorney looked at it way back and had some recommendations, but we weren't sure they were really followed up on. We didn't know what the recommendations are, it was just noted in a letter, you know, my previously provided
10 years
recommendations.
ago, I made these recommendations and they haven't been changed.
Yeah, so
We don't know what they were.
when we met with those, the other townships, everybody was, Maple Valley uses the same law firm as us, and Pine, not for general counsel, but they also use Foster Swift for special items. Agreed that we could have Foster Swift do a, this review of the agreement, and, we would split the cost. So we just estimated it was, say 5 hours that she needed. We didn't think it would take that long, but just to be conservative at $250 an hour, it would roughly work out to just over $300 per township. So I think that's money well spent. And if there's anything, you know, in here that we need to, you know, we're not looking to make major changes, obviously, but if there's, you know, things that could be clarified and.
And we just made that last change, just recently, the 9-person.
Yeah.
That was made too, so that's another change from the original one. And I asked if they had, if that had been looked over by an attorney and they didn't think it had. So they were all for that.
The fire board.
Fire board was all for that and thought it was a good idea and protects both of us and it's sort of a win-win.
Yep, and just, our fire millage goes until 2030, so we got 5 years, and, when we get to that, we need to be pushing to get that renewed, probably a couple of years in advance, getting ready for that, because if we don't have a millage, it's gotta come out of the general fund.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important to get your fire millage passed, so we've got a few years yet. So, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve up to, I'm gonna say $350 for cost sharing for the legal review of our, fire district agreement. Is there support for that?
Support?
Motion's been made and supported, is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Bernwald?
Yes.
Imhoff?
Yes.
Boehm?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Black Hubbard, yes, motion carries. And the next item is hall rental fees and policies. So, this is something that we've been kind of kicking down the road a little bit, getting a little more robust, sample contract, which, our insurance company provided, an example from another township, and I think Ginger may have pulled some. The other question that was brought up in a previous meeting was, for whatever reason, I'm sure it's because they're open more often than the township, is the library handles all the reservations and collects the money, turns it over, is that something that we're comfortable bringing back in-house and between Ginger and Jamie, working that out? And then the fees, it's been $50, for a Cato taxpayer, $50 fee and a $50 deposit that gets returned, for a long time, and, we're having to pay cleaning company, we're having to pay insurance, tables, some of the tables are getting pretty rough, electric, water, obviously, heat, so I guess the first question, I have is, what's your guys' thoughts about bringing it back in-house, Is that something that you want to manage, and we have to set up some checks and balances, between clerk and treasurer, of who's collecting the money versus who's booking the, events, and key drop-offs. I think that's the convenience of the library, is people can just go there during their hours and get the keys. Where Ginger is holding, regular office hours on Mondays. We do have a drop box also, so. What's your thoughts?
I shared with you, and I just shared with Jamie a little bit too, the online sign up getting, which kind of brings me to another thing about the website. I wish I'd have thought about that sooner, I would have put that on the agenda. To think, even though if we're not gonna get a server, we still need a website. And if we get a website, there's this program where you can, fill out applications online. You don't have to download them, print them out or anything, and pay for them online, and, digitally sign them, everything. So I think we can take it back, but I think we need to move towards streamlining it to where we can have a place where they can actually lock the door here and leave the key inside, maybe in a little, no, we can't do that, can we, here? We have to lock the door from the outside.
No, you just gotta push the thing in.
Yeah, I guess, you're right, I never thought of it. So the drop off of the key is no big deal. But, along with that, of course, I'm sure we're gonna talk about raising the fee and changing a lot of different rules. After I've read a lot of different ones the last couple of days, and things like, several of them, you have to pay everything up front, the deposit and the fee. And you have to cancel within 2 weeks. If you do, then you get everything back except $25 or something like that. A lot of the problem right now is we have people booked way out into, what, November? Is that right, something like that? December, yeah, and if they're booked it, but they haven't paid anything, they haven't paid like a deposit to hold that booking or anything.
How do they do that with the library? They just go
They-
in or?
A lot
Yeah,
of them say deposit paid,
Yeah.
but there must be a handful that aren't.
none of the other ones are they?
So they just go in and book it, but they don't put no deposit or anything down?
Right, right.
Oh, I didn't know they did.
Well, she put the one deposit down for this last Thursday, and it said, just keep the check for all the other ones. Well, that doesn't work,
Right.
because you can't put one $50 deposit down to hold it for 5 or 6
Minimum, right,
bookings,
sure.
yeah. And then cancel them for some reason, you know, it's just, it needs to be a little more monitored and streamlined, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
And we're way too cheap.
Would you say, before we talk about the fees, stay with the library until you guys can maybe craft?
Well, I think we can work it now.
You're up to you, as long as we get checks and balances and you guys feel comfortable and accessible, that's the thing, you know, don't want to have to be running.
Well, I know that what's gonna happen right now is people are used to going down there too, so that's gonna,
And that'll save us $10,
yeah,
right?
Yep.
They keep part of it, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
well, I haven't given you my fee yet.
What's that?
I haven't given you my fee yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
You guys are good with it, I'm not, I don't, can't get involved, but.
we'll try it, I mean, yeah, I don't see why not,
Want to make a motion on it?
no.
This is your idea.
Cause right now, do they do any rental agreements at the library?
I think you do.
Cause we never get those.
We don't have them, we
No,
don't,
yeah, that
They
doesn't.
don't ever turn them over to us,
That
all I get's a little
Mhm.
orange ticket,
Okay, yeah.
and they make a copy of it for me to bring back with the money.
did you get them, Deb?
I made them, I gave them to them, but I've never gotten one back.
A signed copy, yeah, we.
And, of course, we need a whole brand new agreement. You know, our brand new rental agreement with different,
Yeah,
one that
needs to be,
can be looked over.
right. What do they do deposit wise if there is, something happens here? How does that work for notification? I mean, you know,
Assuming we would have
I
to
locked the
notify.
door cause I rented it, the next day I go over to get my deposit back, 2 days later you find out that there was a smashed window or
I
something
think
like
they
that.
might wait like a week or something, I might have heard them say
Oh,
before they give
so
it.
that-
But, I don't know.
I'm not sure, but
It
it's
would
not
be-
a good situation.
It would be better managed.
I think so
here,
too,
as long as,
I
like
I
said,
agree with the two of you, I think so. And availability, I mean, you know, I can be added to that list too, I live just 2 blocks away.
Well, if it's on, if they go to the website,
Right.
and they can just email and make connections that way, we can post on our website stuff they can download to look at and to fill out ahead of time. So if they wanted to download it, but we don't have a calendar there for them to view what's available, they would have to ask us. What do they do?
Yeah, that's another thing too, keeping track of all that, so.
We have a calendar, but it's not public.
I mean, you wouldn't want other people to see everyone else's events and
Right.
stuff.
No, but you could
So
put
They
a
can
sign.
just-
I'd say
they can
both.
see
With the
it.
library, they just need to ask.
Yeah, but they
is
can
this
see the
available?
events that they can
Not
see that it's not
available.
Yeah,
available.
unavailable,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, right. Yeah.
We would have one calendar that we kept, track of all of that, so.
Well, is there a motion?
Only question I have is what about the ones that have already had, if they have paid a deposit or not? If we decide to raise the rate, are we gonna?
Yeah, I guess first things
Figure it
first,
out.
let's,
Yeah, we're
let's
gonna, that's
do
an
the
issue.
vote on the library and then let's talk about fees
Yes.
next.
Yeah, you didn't
They
have
haven't
put
paid
on
yet,
that,
so-
right? I'll make a motion that we take back the rental,
Booking responsibility.
booking responsibility and manage it at the township level.
There's support.
I'll support it.
Motion's been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So you're gonna contact the library, and, I would recommend, Deanna Riggleman, the executive director, came and presented, whenever it was. I would reach out to her, just say that's,
I gotta go down and talk to, Cam too about elections.
okay, yeah, and please thank them for.
Oh, yes, yes.
Helping us for however many years it's been, I mean, and then, yeah, we'll have to work that transition of the people that
I'll
have a
try-
key now, or
I'll make something up so that they have something to give people, maybe,
your hours, what they don't come.
yes, and where to contact us, you know, cause they're gonna have that, and I would make note of that.
Can we move something too?
Out here or on the website.
Both, yeah.
If
Window
the people
and
put the
website.
deposit was there, they're gonna think they gotta go to the library,
Right.
especially if they're up for the one day.
Or see if the library will put something up there too.
And there's, on their door even as you walk in.
Okay, and then, fees, so, again, we have, costs that have to be covered, and it's just coming out of the general fund. With, obviously, we do collect some fees, but, we'll let Ginger finish writing, because she had some information to share on comparable others that she looked up. Who all did you,
I left my paper on my desk, but I can remember.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I started I wanted to do in town, so I did the VFW, and that is it's $200 for a weekday and $400 for a weekend
Wow.
day. And it was, I'm not real sure what their deposit was, like around 200, I think, deposit, and they charge tax on that too. So, and then the Maple Valley, theirs was quite high too, theirs was like 300 for a whole day, and 200 for a half day. And the difference between the residents and the non-residents was double. Montcalm Township, they don't rent to non-residents. And theirs is 150 deposit and 150 rental fee, and the other thing is you must, and they're both that is due, so 300 is due at the time, same way with Maple Valley, I don't know. Yeah, it's same way with VFW, because you register online, and so in order to do that, so you have to pay the deposit and the rental fee at the same time. And, Belvedere, theirs was 150 and 150 deposit and rental fee. And they didn't really say that you had to pay that up front. There wasn't a lot of information on there. And I did another one, and it was funny, cause it was 150 and 150.
That's Tamarack Place across the road.
I couldn't find out, I don't know
Do you
who
know
owns
Marcy?
that.
What's
The
the,
last I knew it was 300, I believe.
what's the library? They have room to rent.
You remember what it was, dude?
First in my life to see.
Well, some of those, are, like Maple Valley, I think is quite a bit bigger.
Yes, that is,
than
and I
us.
understood that,
And
and,
the VFW probably has a little more space.
That's a lot.
a lot of them had very strict rules. You couldn't have anything, you couldn't have red Kool-Aid, red punch, or any red food.
Anything that'll stain. Red dye.
Yeah. And, so, I mean, I think there's a lot of different things we can look at. I started kind of comparing the two, I just didn't have time to, I worked on them today, but didn't have time to put them all together, because we have one from Cortland Township.
That's the one, the insurance.
That's the
agent
one,
provided.
right. So I'm doing the Cortland one, and I went down through it and I took some things out that didn't pertain to us. And then, added some things that I got off of other rental agreements. And, just have to kinda go from there.
So $300 and then $150 deposit.
And ours right now is 50 for a Cato taxpayer and 100 for a non, or
When
you
is
say
it?
non-resident, if you own property in Cato.
It's just if you own property in like a business or.
Yeah.
Okay.
You,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I
You're
guess
right,
I
if
did
you
that.
own property,
Yeah.
or you, just a resident that doesn't even own property.
Okay, if you own property but you don't live here, it's 50? Kinda
Yes,
seems
yes.
a lot they're paying.
Yes, cause you're paying taxes if you own property and so.
Does anyone have a suggested price?
I think that 150, that's, you know.
I was
the other
thinking
township
100.
calls.
I was thinking 100.
I was
Uh,
thinking
100 for
150.
100 for residents, and 150 for non.
For, yeah, non-taxpayer.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been raised in how long?
I agree, yes, so, I'm good
What
with
about
that.
the people that have booked currently?
I
Would they
believe
be
that.
grandfathered in?
If they
It
haven't
sounds
paid a
like they haven't
deposit,
even
they
paid,
haven't
though.
secured
If
it.
they haven't
If they
paid,
paid their deposit.
if they
it
paid
seems
their
like we should
deposit,
honor
they're
that.
grandfathered in is the way I figured.
Okay, and if they have not paid, would we give them, hey, you got a week to get this paid up or the fee's going up? Is that,
Give them a.
That sounds fair.
Timeline. That sounds good.
2 days.
Are we going to, I don't know if this is in the current agreement or not, are they limited to how many times they can rent it? Oh, another thing was, the reason I asked that is because there's a couple of different townships that say you can only rent it one time in December.
oh,
So that somebody couldn't come in and rent it for the whole
Christmas, whatever.
Christmas, right? I'm gonna have my family here for Christmas, so I'm having them all down here for the week. So,
They just say consecutive.
well,
I mean, those things can be ironed out, and what I would be willing to look at all of the different agreements, put it all together and come up with one that fits us, and then have board go
Yeah.
over that maybe at our next meeting.
yeah, I like that idea. Fee, I think we can
Right.
probably,
The fee right now,
we can
but
vote
yeah.
on that.
Mhm.
So, I make a motion that we raise the hall rental fee and deposit to $100 for Cato taxpayer and $150 for a non-Cato taxpayer. With the caveat that those that have currently booked and paid their deposit, price will stay the same. Yeah, I know, you're gonna have to watch the video on this.
I will.
And those that are booked but have not paid the deposit, we'll give them a week to get it paid up, otherwise the fee goes up.
I would like to see the non-resident be 200.
Mm-hmm.
They're using all of our stuff, and I just, 200 is still cheap.
And chances are they're gonna ask somebody who they know is a resident.
Sure they are. I
anyway,
know
so-
they're gonna
So
do
I would
that.
say 200, I mean, I'm good with that too.
Most places that I've looked at, it's double. That's what I'm saying is like, any of the other townships.
I
that
withdraw my
double from-
motion.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I just said that whole. Wait, can I amend the motion?
Yeah,
can-
just
you
amend
can
the
amend
motion
it.
to the price.
just to change that to 200.
Okay, I amend that to be 200 for the non-Cato taxpayer, that's the deposit and the fee.
Yes.
And is there support for that first?
Support?
Okay, motion's been made and supported, further discussion. That deposit, what if they cancel? Are we gonna, will you work that into your policy?
That will be worked into the policy, and the policy so far is you have to cancel 2 weeks ahead of time. Or you don't get anything back. If you don't cancel within 2 weeks, you don't get any of it back, but if you do cancel within 2 weeks, we keep 25, and they get all the rest back.
That's kind of what you're thinking, but
That's
you'll bring all that back
kind of
in a
right.
policy.
Yep, that's kind of what's happened before, and I think all these other ones have already figured out all the different issues that pop up.
Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. Myers,
Yes.
Solon,
Yes.
Imhoff.
Yes.
Ernwald,
Yes.
Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion carries. All right, so we'll look for something next meeting, and you'll contact the library. Post it wherever we can, window, website. All right, anything else to come before the board before we go into final public comment? Anybody? All right, we'll go into final public comment, open it up to any topic.
Jenny Town, Cato Township. In regards to the planning commission, we already have a person that's very interested in putting in tiny homes. So my question is, why are we putting that on the back burner? We don't have any pressing issues on the short-term rentals, but we do have somebody that's interested in developing a piece of property and doesn't want to go through the whole process of waiting for the planning commission to do an ordinance and everything. Why can't we send that to the lawyer and ask him for examples of the tiny home community ordinances and like simplify that process a little bit? Because we already know the planning commission doesn't meet for months at a time. I just.
We meet every other month. I think there's a lot coming up on their agenda. The short-term rentals is probably gonna be more prevalent. It's just gonna keep getting more.
We already
There's
have like a
already
whole
short-term
lineup of people
rentals.
that are looking at short-term rentals.
Well, we have one guy that's interested in the tiny home right now, and it sounds like he's.
Right, a lot of tiny homes, not just one, but a lot of them. That's just my feelings, is I just don't understand why we put that on the back burner when he's looking at developing like 20 homes in the community and we're putting it on the back burner.
Well, I mean, that's something they can look at in the future, but right now, this mapping project is a big project, and I want their attention focused on that. So, I mean, whatever they decide to do that, I mean, we got the planner coming, we're paying him. You guys, I mean, let's get one task done and then, I would say back burn out.
He does not
next year.
realize some of the other processes that go with this in regards to creating a road to, county specs and things like that.
I get it.
He didn't know anything about that, so I've been talking to him about, this just doesn't involve changing, to a tiny home, and there's a lot involved with that, with the splitting and everything else. And he wants something now. So,
Doesn't happen like that.
yeah, I know, I think he's finally figuring it out, but I am talking to him, and he is conversing with me, so.
Anything else?
No.
Anybody else?
Matt Hubbard, Cato Township. On the tiny homes, I don't think our community wants subdivisions of tiny homes. It kinda is meant for like a mother-in-law, father-in-law, that's kinda what it's meant for.
I think you're wrong.
In this case, 3 houses, it becomes a road. So he would have to put in a cul-de-sac and all that stuff, so it's not something that the planning commission would have to do right away. If you understand the 3 houses, and once you're past 3 houses, you have to put in a drive,
Correct.
so.
Correct.
The way I understood it is it's somewhat like a step up from a trailer park.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he has a
Because we've
good,
outlawed all of those.
But we're gonna put, they could put log cabins in there. You gotta be real careful what we're talking about. So, that's all I
Alright,
gotta say.
anybody? You done?
Yes.
Anything else? Anybody else? I did not.
Ron Buckholz, 6124 Cutler. I have a question, just generally. I don't understand the process for road improvements here. Is it a township thing, or do you get direction from Montcalm County Road Commission? Because Cutler Road, where we live on, is a disaster. I know you're aware of it, and you guys, I don't know if anybody drives down there, but it's getting worse. And I just wonder, do you get the recommendation from Montcalm County Road Commission, and then you guys decide, or they tell you which ones they wanna do for sure, and then you got extra money to spend on a different road? How does that work?
They have what's called a PACER rating system, where they've rated all the roads that we have, and they definitely give us their recommendations about which roads, either are candidates for, new paving, or what we're trying to do is maintain recent new paving, because if you can do this chip and seal a year or two after you've done the paving, you can extend the life of the road. So they kind of come up with this whole list of what they are recommending in order of, again, we have a lot of roads that need work.
Yeah.
We've improved our PACER rating. We put a lot of our, general fund money. We don't have a road millage here. Something we might wanna look into in the future, but we don't. It has to come out of our general fund dollars, and the township doesn't own any of the roads. They are all county roads, but the township is expected to contribute towards that. So, funding is limited. So it's always which ones, what makes the most sense? Is it a maintenance? Is maintenance more important? Is this road gonna cost us too much, to totally repave it when we could get, 10 years out of these other two roads if we do a chip and seal? So it's always a balancing act of trying to figure out what makes the most sense.
So it makes more sense for me to go to Montcalm County Road Commission,
No.
or no?
I
I mean, that's where it
I
originates.
can respond to that, cause I called the Montcalm County Road Commission, and they actually told me that they take the township's recommendations on the roads of priority that need the work. And then the money gets distributed and they pick on what jobs, is
Well,
what he told me.
We, meet with them, but
Yeah.
they're the ones that give us the PACER ratings, and we kind of rely on them to tell the for
Sure.
conditions. I mean, obviously, we can drive around, but they're the experts in the roads.
Yeah.
So, I'm not exactly sure what the conversation was, but.
The good news is, Montcalm County was all down Cutler Road, trimming all the trees on the road we're talking about to be paved, or discussing it. I wouldn't assume Montcalm County would be coming out and spending all of that money and manpower and machinery to trim trees for the sake of it.
Were they doing that, or was the power company coming out and trimming them?
It was Montcalm County, it wasn't the power company.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I watched them for 4 days straight, on Cutler, where it turns into the dirt road over by, I don't know what that road is, Bacchus or whatever it is over there, all the way up to Lake Road. They spent 4 days up there, I mean, extensive tree trimming. They just said that if we do the road, these branches had to be removed so our machinery could get in there. So, that's kind of where it was at, what I saw happen.
And we'll be, having more in-depth discussions at our next meeting. Like I said, they want the contracts as soon as possible, so that they
Sure,
can start
sure.
planning for the summer. Problem is, our budget season isn't until like end of May, June, so we're
Yeah.
trying to figure out, okay, what can we spend? And, there is this match, or the, county has allocated 100,000 to all the townships, and we have to match that.
Okay.
So we're trying to see what makes the most sense, and that'll be a big topic of discussion for April.
Is Cutler Road on that list?
It was one of the,
That's what I thought, yeah, perfect,
lower rated PACER rating roads, yeah, but there's a lot of them.
okay.
So I'll just add that caveat, so.
I just have one more comment, as far as the, fire department, thing. I was watching the news the other day and I seen an interesting thing that came across about, I think it was Plainfield Township, I'm not sure, somewhere by Grand Rapids maybe. But the fire department, and it was a local small fire department, but they actually, I didn't know this, but the government or state of Michigan, someone supplies smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to the fire department for free for people that want them. I was not aware of that, but what they did was actually take it another step further and have a fire department employee go to people's homes that either were disabled and were not able to even put the thing in their house. And I thought it was a great idea because they were telling how many people have died so far just this year from house fires. And a lot of them are disabled and they don't even have the means or the money to even either install it or buy one. And knowing maybe you could say something.
That was brought up at
Really?
Probably 2 months ago.
Huh,
Because they have done that before.
good.
They've had but they said the last 2 times they did it, they didn't have hardly any response at all.
We need to know about it
How
though.
can that,
I
people
know,
must
but
not
they
know.
said it was a couple years ago was the last time they did it, but they said the response was really low, so.
It's hard to believe.
We didn't discuss, but what it was is you could go to the fire department and pick them up
Right.
at the fire department. It wasn't going in and
Yeah.
doing like what you're saying. There was also discussion about carbon monoxide detectors too.
Definitely.
And so when they do that, they have to, there's even a liability there with it, in case it doesn't work. So that was some talk and it was kind of tabled, so, but I can ask about it a little bit again and.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they would have the ability, I don't know if people get notified that easily, but I just don't know how you would notify them, but gosh, I can't imagine anybody wouldn't pick up on that and want that. That
I
doesn't
think it was
seem.
because most people have them at their homes and they aren't as expensive as they were originally when they came out. That's the only thing I can think of is why it would be down, you know. I'd almost rather go buy them than have to take a time off to go down there and sign up for one, but.
It's worth asking the question.
It is, I can bring it up again and see.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? We'll go ahead and close public comment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support? Motion's made and supported, further discussion, hearing none, all in favor?